July 11th, 1986. Wembley Stadium, London. 72,000 fans were singing along to Bohemian Rhapsody when Freddie Mercury did something he had never done in his entire career. He stopped performing mid-song. The reason? He had just spotted Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II sitting in the royal box, watching him with an expression that would change both of their lives forever. What happened in the next hour would become the most extraordinary meeting between rock royalty and actual royalty in British history. The energy inside Wembley Stadium that evening was absolutely electric. This was the second and final night of Queen's Magic Tour, and everyone in attendance knew they were witnessing something historic. Queen had conquered the world at Live Aid just 1 year earlier with a 20-minute performance that critics called the greatest live rock show in history. Tonight's concert was their triumphant return to their home stadium, and Freddie Mercury was performing at the absolute peak of his powers. The Magic Tour had been designed to silence every critic who claimed Queen was becoming too theatrical, too removed from their rock roots. The elaborate stage production featured cutting-edge pyrotechnics, choreography that pushed human limits, and a sound system that transformed Wembley into a cathedral of rock music. Everything about this tour was meant to prove that Queen remained the undisputed champions of live performance. But what Freddie didn't know as he commanded that stage was that someone far more royal than any rock star was already in the building. And she had come with a purpose that would forever change how Britain viewed both its monarchy and its music. Queen Elizabeth II had never attended a rock concert in her life. At 60 years old, she had spent 34 years as Britain's monarch, maintaining the dignified distance that royal protocol demanded. Rock and roll, with its rebellion and raw energy, seemed completely incompatible with everything the crown represented. The royal family and popular music existed in separate worlds that never intersected. But something had been shifting in the royal household ever since Live Aid. Prince Philip had mentioned during a private dinner that Queen had raised more money for famine relief in 20 minutes than most charities raise in an entire year. Princess Margaret, always the more adventurous royal, had been playing Queen's greatest hits album at Kensington Palace. Even the Queen Mother admitted she found Freddie Mercury's voice quite remarkable when she heard it on the BBC. However, it was a conversation with Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher that truly opened Queen Elizabeth's eyes to what Freddie Mercury represented to modern Britain. During their weekly audience, Mrs. Thatcher had spoken with characteristic directness about the rock star who had captivated the nation. "Your Majesty, Freddie Mercury embodies everything admirable about the British spirit," the Prime Minister said. "He's an immigrant who became more British than most people born here. He's turned our language, our culture, our very identity into an art form that the whole world celebrates. He makes Britain proud on the world stage every single night." Those words stayed with Queen Elizabeth for weeks. Here was Farrokh Bulsara from Zanzibar, who had come to England as a teenager and transformed himself into Freddie Mercury, the voice of a generation. He had taken the English language and made it soar in ways that would have made Shakespeare envious. He had made British rock music the envy of the world. Most importantly, he had done it all with a respect for artistry and craftsmanship that the Queen deeply admired. 3 days before the Wembley concert, Queen Elizabeth made a decision that shocked her entire household staff. She was going to attend the concert not as a formal royal engagement with months of planning and protocol, but as a personal choice. She wanted to understand this phenomenon that had captured her nation's imagination. Lord Chamberlain Sir John Johnston tried to dissuade her. "Your Majesty, this is not a suitable venue for a royal appearance," he said with diplomatic concern. "The security concerns alone are insurmountable, and the protocol requirements would disrupt the entire event." But Queen Elizabeth had made up her mind with the quiet determination that had defined her entire reign. "I have spent 34 years learning about my subjects through carefully orchestrated events and formal presentations," she replied. "Perhaps it is time I learned about them by experiencing what they experience, by seeing what moves them, by understanding what makes them proud to be British." On the evening of July 11th, Freddie Mercury took the Wembley Stadium stage completely unaware that his queen was already in the building. Queen Elizabeth had arrived 3 hours before showtime, using her constitutional authority to arrange security without appearing on any official guest lists. Her private secretary had quietly coordinated with Wembley's management to prepare the royal box with explicit instructions: no public announcement, no ceremonial recognition, no disruption to the concert whatsoever. The Queen wanted to experience this music the way her subjects experienced it, without the formal barriers that usually surrounded every moment of her public life. She was dressed more casually than most people had ever seen her, wearing a simple but elegant navy dress with an understated diamond brooch, her hair styled less formally than usual. To anyone who might notice her in the royal box, she looked like a distinguished grandmother who had decided to experience rock music for the first time. For 90 minutes, Queen Elizabeth watched in complete fascination. She had never experienced anything like the energy flowing between Freddie Mercury and the 72,000 people who hung on his every gesture. She watched him command the stage with a confidence that was both theatrical and deeply sincere. She listened to his voice soar through melodies complex enough to impress the most sophisticated classical musicians, yet accessible enough to make every person in the stadium feel personally connected to every word. But what impressed her most was Freddie's respect for his craft and his audience. Despite his flamboyant persona and rebellious lyrics, there was something fundamentally respectful about how he approached his performance. He gave everything he had to every song, treated every moment as if it were the most important performance of his life, honored the trust that 72,000 people had placed in him by paying to witness his artistry. This wasn't the crude rebellion she had expected from rock music. This was craftsmanship, dedication, and a profound respect for the power of music to unite people across every conceivable difference. When the opening piano notes of Bohemian Rhapsody began echoing through Wembley Stadium, Queen Elizabeth felt something she hadn't expected. She found herself genuinely moved by the complexity and beauty of the composition. As Freddie's voice built from gentle intimacy to operatic grandeur to hard rock power, she realized she was witnessing not just a popular entertainer, but a genuine artist whose work deserved the same respect she would give to any great British cultural achievement. Freddie Mercury was deep into the operatic section of Bohemian Rhapsody, his voice soaring through the complex harmonies while 72,000 people sang along to every word, when he noticed something unusual in the royal box. There was a figure sitting with perfect posture, hands folded elegantly in her lap, watching his performance with the kind of focused tension that he usually only saw from serious music critics or fellow musicians. As his eyes adjusted to the stage lights and focused on the royal box, Freddie Mercury experienced a moment of pure disbelief that was visible to everyone in the stadium. Sitting in the royal box, wearing a simple navy dress and a small diamond brooch, watching his performance with genuine interest and what appeared to be actual enjoyment, was Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. The Queen of England was at his concert, listening to his music, witnessing the art form that had made him famous around the world. For several seconds, Freddie continued singing, his voice carrying on through muscle memory while his mind processed what he was seeing. The Queen wasn't supposed to be here. The royal family didn't attend rock concerts. Queen Elizabeth II certainly didn't make unannounced appearances at events where she wasn't the guest of honor. Yet there she was, sitting with the dignified grace that characterized everything she did, but clearly engaged with his music in a way that seemed both unexpected and completely genuine. When their eyes met across the stadium, Freddie saw something in the Queen's expression that surprised him even more than her presence. She wasn't there out of obligation or curiosity. She was there because she wanted to be, because she had chosen to experience his art, because she had decided that what he was doing was worth her personal attention. Then Freddie Mercury made a decision that would be remembered and discussed for decades to come. He signaled to his band to continue the instrumental section while he stepped forward to the front of the stage, his microphone in hand, and did something that no rock star had ever done before. He acknowledged the presence of his sovereign with the respect and grace that the moment deserved while maintaining the dignity of his art and his performance. "Ladies and gentlemen," Freddie announced, his voice carrying clearly through the stadium sound system, his tone respectful but confident. "We have a very special and completely unexpected honor tonight." His voice grew warmer as he continued, not with nervousness, but with genuine appreciation. "Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II has chosen to join us at Wembley this evening. The stadium erupted in a sound that was part applause, part cheering, and part pure amazement. 72,000 people turned toward the royal box while Queen Elizabeth rose from her seat with the same gracious acknowledgement she had given to millions of her subjects over 34 years of public service. What happened next demonstrated the character of both extraordinary individuals. Freddie Mercury refused to be intimidated. Instead of changing his performance, he chose to honor his queen by giving her the same authentic artistry he gave every audience. "Your Majesty," he said into his microphone, his voice carrying perfect balance of respect and confidence. This song celebrates the complexity and beauty of human experience. If I may, I would like to dedicate the remainder of Bohemian Rhapsody to you and to the extraordinary nation you have served with such dedication. The gesture was perfect. Freddie had acknowledged the Queen's presence with appropriate respect, without diminishing his art or compromising his performance. He had honored both his sovereign and his craft simultaneously. Queen Elizabeth, recognizing the grace of Freddie's response, did something that surprised everyone in Wembley Stadium, including her own security detail. She remained standing and began to applaud, not with polite acknowledgement, but with genuine enthusiasm for the artistry she was witnessing. As Freddie launched back into Bohemian Rhapsody, something magical happened. The knowledge that Queen Elizabeth II was actually appreciating their music elevated both the performance and audience response to transcendent levels. Freddie sang with even more passion and precision. The band played with inspired energy. 72,000 people sang with unity and power that made the entire stadium feel like a single massive instrument. Then came the most remarkable moment. As Bohemian Rhapsody reached its powerful conclusion and the stadium erupted in applause, Queen Elizabeth did something unprecedented in British monarchy history. She gestured to her security detail and began making her way down from the royal box toward the stage. The message was clear. She wanted to meet Freddie Mercury personally. Meanwhile, Freddie and the band continued performing, transitioning into "We Will Rock You" with an energy that acknowledged the historic nature of what was unfolding. The crowd stomped and clapped in unison, but every eye in the stadium was fixed on the side of the stage where Queen Elizabeth's security detail was coordinating the impossible. Queen Elizabeth II appeared at the side of the Wembley stage, accompanied by her security detail and looking remarkably composed for someone about to make royal history. The moment the crowd saw her, a wave of gasps rippled through 72,000 people. Freddie Mercury made a split-second decision that demonstrated his remarkable combination of respect and confidence. He walked to the edge of the stage and extended his hand toward his sovereign. "Your Majesty," Freddie said into his microphone, his voice carrying across the stadium with perfect balance of reverence and warmth. "If you would honor us with your presence on this stage, I believe these 72,000 people would be delighted to thank you personally for the grace and dignity you have brought to our nation for over 3 decades." The invitation hung in the air like a prayer. Queen Elizabeth's response would be discussed in constitutional law classes for generations. She looked at Freddie's outstretched hand, then at the sea of faces watching with breathless anticipation. Then she did something that had never happened before in the 1,000-year history of the British monarchy. She accepted his hand with a simple nod and began walking onto the Wembley Stadium stage, making her the first British monarch in history to appear on stage at a rock concert. 72,000 people fell completely silent, not out of fear, but out of genuine reverence for the remarkable moment they were witnessing. The only sound was the soft click of her shoes against the stage floor. When Queen Elizabeth II and Freddie Mercury stood face to face at center stage, two of the most iconic figures in British culture meeting for the first time, the silence was so profound you could hear the breath of the person next to you. Here was Farrokh Bulsara from Zanzibar, who had become Freddie Mercury, voice of a generation, standing before Elizabeth Alexandra Mary Windsor, who had become Queen Elizabeth II, constitutional monarch of the United Kingdom. Freddie leaned close, speaking without the microphone. "Thank you for coming tonight, Your Majesty. Thank you for honoring our music with your presence." Queen Elizabeth, who had spent 34 years perfecting gracious public interaction, found herself genuinely moved by Freddie's sincerity. "Mr. Mercury," the Queen replied, her voice carrying a warmth the public rarely witnessed, I came tonight because I wanted to understand what moves my people, what makes them proud to be British. You have shown me something beautiful this evening. Your music, your respect for your craft, your love for your audience, these make me proud to be queen of the nation that produced you. What happened next shocked everyone, including Freddie. Queen Elizabeth asked if he would lead the entire stadium in singing God Save the Queen, not as formal protocol, but as a celebration of the unity that music could create. Freddie's response demonstrated why he had become beloved, not just as a performer, but as a human being. "It would be my honor, Your Majesty," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "But only if you'll help me. Only if you'll show these people that their queen shares their love for the music that brings us all together." What followed became legend. Together, Queen Elizabeth II and Freddie Mercury led 72,000 people in the most moving performance of God Save the Queen in modern British history. Freddie's powerful voice carried the melody, while the Queen stood beside him, clearly moved by hearing her people sing the national anthem, with genuine feeling rather than mere obligation. The sight of the Queen standing beside the flamboyant lead singer of Queen, both united in their love for their country, was so powerful that thousands in the audience found themselves crying openly. But Freddie wasn't finished. As the anthem concluded, he made one more gesture that would define the evening forever. "Your Majesty," he said into his microphone, "would you permit us to close tonight's performance with 'We Are the Champions'? Not as a celebration of our success, but as a celebration of what British people can achieve when we support each other." The Queen smiled and nodded. The final performance of "We Are the Champions," with Queen Elizabeth II standing beside Freddie Mercury, while 72,000 people sang along, became the most iconic moment in British rock history. As the concert ended, Queen Elizabeth did something that would be remembered as one of the most gracious moments of her reign. She thanked Freddie publicly, speaking into his microphone to address the entire stadium. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, her voice carrying clearly across Wembley, "tonight I have had the privilege of experiencing something truly special. Mr. Mercury and the members of Queen have shown us that great art comes from great hearts, that talent without kindness means nothing, and that the best of British culture happens when we celebrate our differences while honoring our shared values." She paused, turning to look directly at Freddie. "Mr. Mercury, you have honored your adopted country tonight. You have shown us what it means to be both a great artist and a good person. Thank you for sharing your gift with us, and thank you for reminding us that music has the power to unite us across every boundary." The standing ovation that followed lasted over 10 minutes. 72,000 people were applauding the demonstration of mutual respect, cultural understanding, and genuine human connection that had unfolded before them. Queen Elizabeth II and Freddie Mercury had shown everyone present that greatness comes from using whatever gifts you have to serve something larger than yourself. Their meeting at Wembley became a defining moment, proving that when greatness meets greatness, both become even greater than they were before.